Hey, hey, gang. How's it going? Welcome to issue 23. I got it. 23 of the Morning Warm-Up. It's morning somewhere, just not here. So, my guest today is the one and only, the toy hunter himself, Jordan Hembrough. If you're a fan of toys, classic, new, you name it, this guy is the toy expert. He's the hunter. He's the toy hunter. Come on. So, hey, for those of you in the States like me, I hope you guys had a great, safe, and healthy Independence Day, 4th of July. And I hope everyone outside of the States had a great weekend and did the same. Remember, folks, you got to wear your masks, especially indoors, social distance. Show everyone out there how much you love and care about them, okay? How much you love you, your family, your friends, their families, and just your fellow humans, right? And their loved ones and families. These masks, here's my mask for the week. Here's mine. My daughter made me this one. It's awesome. I will wear it always. I'll wear it even after the pandemic. That's how much I love this. How much I love my daughter. But these masks, man, they're a sign of love, empathy, and literally one of the key components to help us all beat this virus. It's really not a lot to ask of ourselves. So let's be good to one another. Wear your masks, okay? All right. So, despite popular demand, my co-host, Steve Wacker, was supposed to be here again. So 10 minutes before the broadcast, I get a call from Steve saying, hey, the construction workers just got here. There's a lot of sanding. I'm like, Steve, all right, fine, bye. I just can't deal with the excuses. It's like one excuse. So I just got him on for one episode. He's already missed two. I'm starting to really rethink this. Anyone who wants to apply as my co-host, just send me a line. Anybody's better than Steve at this point, really. It's like dead air. But listen, we don't need Steve. Don't need Steve at all because we got Jordan Hembrough here, all right? So one of the things that I love about Jordan is that he's not just knowledgeable about toys, and not just about the price of toys, but the meaning of toys. And he's turned his career into not just one about collecting toys, but one about gathering stories and the stories that these toys bring up and mean to all of us. And that's really what we're going to dig into here. Just the stories behind the stories of Jordan's hunting and the people that he meets. So without further ado, you guys want to see me? You want to see Jordan? Jordan, how are you, man? How's it going?
Hey, that was one hell of an introduction. I don't know if I can live up to that.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You're a TV guy.
I'm going to say goodbye right now. I'm going to pull a whacker. I'm going to go goodbye. Now I'll come back.
Yeah, you might as well. So listen, I want to, before we get into the discussion about toys and stuff, because I know this will lead us into it, I want to get into your secret origins. Now, you're a Jersey boy, right?
I am. Yeah, right. Born and bred. So, me and Springsteen and Bon Jovi. yeah.
I mean, is that the hierarchy? Is it? Now, who is it? Is it the boss? No, you and Bon Jovi? I mean, how does that go? What's the hierarchy there?
I think
what's the Mount Rushmore of Jersey?
You know what? It's Springsteen. Everybody talks about Jersey. Yeah. I mean, I've traveled all over the world, and people always say, you know, where are you from? New Jersey. And actually, the hierarchy is Bruce Springsteen, Sopranos, and they go, oh, Jersey Shore, Snooki. Right. I'm like, yeah, oh, sure, all right, of course. No. So I'm sort of like down at the bottom somewhere.
That's right. Well, listen, you're on the list. You made the list, right?
I'm on the bottom of the list, but I'm on the list.
So tell me about your secret origin. Tell me about little Jordan, and how you found, like as a child, right? We all discover toys, right? And there are those that we remember, with incredible affection. But tell me about your beginnings, because this became a career for you.
So basically, for me, I was one of the nerdy kids on the school ground who I didn't have a lot of friends and everything, and I played a lot with my toys, and I grew up with, in the age of the 1970s, Mego Corporation with world's greatest superheroes with Hulk and Spider-Man and Captain America, and then that quickly transcended into like Star Wars toys and action figures, and they became my friends growing up, and I would kind of sit in my room and with all my posters of my superheroes and everything. And, I'd I'd play with my toys. And then what happened is, essentially when I think it was about 16 years old, I realized that I can make more money, selling toys than waitering or taking a paper route and everything. I started like dealing these toys at local toy shows and everything when I was 16. It started with all the toys I had, collecting growing up and everything like that. But it's a passion for me. It really is, because growing up, I didn't have a lot of friends. And those toys became my friends, and they got me through a lot of tough times. And as I started doing this more and more, I realized a lot of people had very similar childhoods to like what I had.
So what were your favorite toys growing up? I mean, what were the ones that you like? And it's okay. It doesn't have to be Marvel. It doesn't have to be Marvel.
Well, look, before, 1974, 1975, it was definitely all about world's greatest superheroes. Mego, Captain America, even here, I got my Hulk, the little Hulk right here. Nice. I got my little Hulk doll. This is what we grew up with.
Yeah.
So when I talk about stuff, from the 70s and everything, this is what we did. And then, come the 1970s and 76, it was Star Wars. And, I was a Star Wars kid and a superhero kid, and I dabbled in everything. I loved fantasy. I loved the other world, because, I was going through a lot of stuff at school. So I kind of wanted to go to that different world, whether it be Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, wherever. Mm-hmm. And I kind of lived my life through those other characters, these incredible, wonderful, empowering characters that really were around for my younger years. I had good parents too, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but listen, you still it's not unlike a lot of us with comic books, right? These toys, these stories, they take you to other worlds. They expand your imagination. So now you started selling these toys, right? And I guess trading with your friends and stuff. So what was the toy? Was there one that you gave away that you're like, today you're like, whether it's monetary or just emotional? I mean, is there one?
It was actually my Mego Spider-Man. It was my Spider-Man, because I had that toy growing up, and I remember a buddy of mine really wanted it, and he was trading me for something like, I think it was like Hot Wheels. It was some crazy Hot Wheel cars, and it was like superhero Hot Wheel cars, and I wanted them because I didn't have them. So I gave him my Mego Spider-Man, and then I'm like in my room at night going, oh man, what did I do? So I saw him the next day at school. I'm like, can we trade back? He's like, no. I'm like, please? Like, nope. So I learned out really early on about seller's regret, like really early on in life.
Yeah.
I was upset. So he's like, nope, it's already in my diorama. He knew that word, like in fourth grade. It's in my diorama. I'm like, okay.
Oh man, what a punk. So do you still keep in contact with that kid? I mean, is he anywhere in your life or?
No, I don't think I talk to him anymore. I should probably ask him if he still has my Spider-Man.
Seriously, he may still have it somewhere. How awesome would that be?
I gotta reach out to him on Facebook or something. Find where he is.
So let's not mention his name here, but if he's watching, if he happens to be watching,
I won't.
Jordan will pay handsomely.
Top dollar to get my childhood back. That's it, exactly.
That's it, man. So, listen, I also want to remind fans, I think, because we are starting to get some questions. If you have any questions for Jordan, add them to the feed. Jordan and I cannot see the feed, but I have somebody at Marvel watching the feed, and if there's cool questions, they are texting me on my other screen here, guys. So if you have any questions for Jordan, just drop them in, and we'll ask them near the end of the interview. So, all right. So, and now, what's the one toy that you're glad you held on to that you still have? I mean, do you still have some from your childhood?
I've got some of my original Star Wars action figures from when I grew up.
Right.
It was very, because when I did a TV show a little while ago, and my best friend was on it, and another gal who worked with me, and they actually went to my mom and they found them. They called my mom for them.
That's awesome.
I thought they threw them out, and they had them shadow boxed. So I've actually got those. They're in my personal collection, and they're worthless on the market, but to me they're personal because they're my favorite. And actually, as I'm cleaning out and going through stuff, like I'm finding some of my old toys and everything like that. So these don't go for sale. These stay with me. Yeah, they're my childhood.
Yeah. So Because I mean I know that what you do it's yes there's a portion of it that it's about sort of the monetary value of some of these toys, and then there's a portion that isn't. And we'll talk more about that because I know both sides of this world as well, from the world of comics and collecting. But in your collection, what do you think is your most valuable toy? I mean, can you give that knowledge? I mean, I don't want people saying, "Hey, let's find where Jordan is."
I mean. To be honest, I don't, it's funny, and I'm glad you actually talked about this because, I don't really have a lot of stuff in my own personal collection. I've got stuff that people have given to me, not stuff that I've really bought. I've got pieces of artwork that friends have given to me. I've got pieces of artwork that, comic artists and people who worked in film industry have given to me that hang on my wall. Those mean a lot to me. I've got toys that I've had when I was a kid that mean a lot to me. And it's because of the story behind it. Right. Stuff like that. So monetarily, I don't really think I've got a lot of stuff worth a lot of money, this money. But when it comes to, in the heart, it means a lot because everything's connected to a story. And I can go into my office and someone will say, where'd you get that? I'll say that's a piece of artwork that a buddy of mine gave to me who knows that I love this, or this is a piece of artwork, or this is something that, I've got a movie prop from Lucasfilm that somebody gave me because they knew that I loved, Star Wars, stuff like that. So I've got the stories, and that means a lot more to me.
So then just in the world of toys in general, because I actually don't know the answer to this question, right? So in baseball cards, right? Like the Hannes Wagner baseball card is the world's most expensive. What is the most valuable toy you think in the world today?
It's interesting you say that because every little niche of toys has their little holy grail. There's the little Marvel holy grails and Star Wars and the Disney holy grails. So it's hard to put a price on it. I mean, I know some rare, Marvel Ben Cooper costumes have gone for in the thousands and $10,000s of dollars. I know some original artwork, comic artwork from Marvel and everything has gone through the roof as well. And everything fluctuates, we're in weird times right now. I mean, we're in a crazy world. So the markets fluctuate. People come and go. Collections ebb and flow. The interesting thing about what I do is, the market is always in flux. It's like the stock market. So something that sold for, $10,000 last year might go for $5,000 this year, or it might go for $20,000 2 years from now. It's a really, really fluid market. It's very, very strange, and you got to keep up on it.
Right. So then with respect to Marvel toys, what is the holy grail of Marvel, let's say, figures? It's interesting. A lot of people are going.
And
I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about rarity, right? This is just something.
Sure. We got to go back to the 1970s and Mego Corporation. Marty Abrams was head of Mego and his whole family. And we go back to these 8-inch action figures that we grew up with in the 70s. Iron Man. Iron Man was released in a box, but he was also released on a carded Iron Man. They go for about $35,000. That's a lot of money. He's considered one of the holy grails, in Marvel collecting and in the Mego collecting world. Tough piece. I've only seen 2 of them. I didn't even have them. I saw them they kind of went through my hands at a toy show. I was like, oh my God. Really cool stuff. I mean, it's really neat stuff.
Yeah, I remember my first Marvel anything that was outside of a comic book was Captain Action. Remember Captain Action? Oh, right. And he had all the different costumes. It had Batman, Captain America.
Spider-Man too, and that's a really rare piece too.
That was the coolest character.
I love Captain Action. I love Captain Action. I know you and I were talking about Matt Mee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
They move on, and as these generations get older, or we die, nobody remembers them. So,
you missed the window. Yeah.
Guns.
Yeah.
Buck Rogers.
Sure.
Captain Corbett. No one remembers that anymore.
Yeah. Back in my day, we used to whittle our toys from a piece of wood. We just sit there and just make it.
When you made fire.
Yeah, then we burn them for heat.
Yeah.
So now getting back to your origin. So you're a kid collecting, right? You go to college. I mean, what leads you into this sort of world of toy collecting, toy buying, toy purchasing? What are the steps that happen at this point?
So what I did is I was going to college, and I went to college in New Jersey, and I did a major in journalism with a minor in like theater and everything like that. And as I was getting closer and closer to graduation, I kind of really didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was selling toys on the side. So I knew I was like, okay, I can do this. So in Ridgewood, New Jersey, okay, there was a store, and it was called Starlog. Now, it was an offshoot of Starlog magazine, and if anyone out there,
there was a magazine called Starlog. Yes,
there was a magazine called Starlog, and if anyone who's unfamiliar with Starlog, I'll tell you about it. Here's what it is in a nutshell. Starlog was to comics and sci-fi the way Time magazine or Newsweek is to politics. If something was happening with comics, comic books, comic movies, toys, or science fiction, Starlog covered it. They did interviews and everything. It was like a haven for nerds and geeks like myself. So I would go in there and frequent that store, and they were expanding. I happened to hit them at just the right time where they expanding. They went public, and they started doing a chain of retail stores. They were Starlog, the comic and science fiction universe is what it was called.
Right.
And we had 14 stores around the world. I got in on the ground floor because I went in and bought toys all the time. And they said, okay, this guy kind of knows what he's doing. So they hired me. Actually, I didn't even, I'm the first time actually telling people this. So don't tell anybody.
Scoop. We got a scoop.
I actually didn't even finish college. I left like 3 credits shy of college.
Oh,
so I think I had like a language, a humanities course, and like gym. Something. And I went to work for Starlog, corporate office, and I was a buyer. I started as a buyer. So that started my world on buying all this licensed merchandise from the world we live in, comics and science fiction and sci-fi and fantasy. And that's really what got me involved. Like here I am, 20 years old, buying all this in a corporate environment, and it fed me. It fed the hunger that I wanted, which was really, really wonderful. And the unique thing about Starlog, and I'll just point it out, was we had these stores in malls. Okay, so imagine going to a mall, any mega mall around the country. Yeah. We were in the biggest ones. Every one of these Starlog stores had this section of collectible toys. So you'd be able to walk into a mainstream mall and go, oh, look, there's, here's clothing, here's food, here's a food court. I'm going to go in the store and find vintage toys. And that's what I was in charge of. So here I am buying for stores all around the country, in the world even. We had them in England. And I'm buying vintage toys on a corporate level. It was an incredible experience.
So how long were you there?
I was there a while. I was there got to be 7 or 8 years. I mean, they really taught me everything. Then the company closed down.
Right.
And I was one of the buyers right before we shut down. So I told everyone, send it all back, send the inventory back to the warehouse. I had left the company then, but a buddy of mine was still there. So I went and I bought a lot of stuff at the corporate, the closeout sale, the liquidation sale company. So I'm bidding on pallets, and the pallets were filled with collectible toys. And that's what started my company. The old inventory from the company I worked with started my new company, Hollywood Heroes.
So that's where Hollywood. Wait, watch it. Boom! There it is. I got the graphic.
There we go.
Your point. There you go. Yeah. It's reverse view. So
there you go.
I come prepared, man. So now you start your own thing, right? You start now. I'm going to guess that look. I mean, for those who can't who can't see this on screen, Jordan is one of the most effervescent and energetic people I know on the planet. So, Jordan, I'm gonna go on a limb here and assume that your energy and your positive attitude is something that really helped you in this particular job, but also helped you afterwards, because you probably make contacts everywhere, right? I'm sure anybody who knows anything about toys, anybody who has connections to toys, who could help you reach out to get toys, are people who are friends of yours. These are probably contacts you made while you were working at Starlog, and did this help you with Hollywood Heroes?
It did. I mean, the toy industry is like the comic industry, and they're actually very entwined. It's very incestuous, and I say that in a good word, meaning like everyone knows everybody, and for the most part, everyone pretty much gets along because we've all got this passion for what we do. Right. Some of the greatest people in my life who I've known work in the comic industry. They've got this passion and this drive, and we're all a bunch of really kind of easy, laid back type of guys. And, we just get along. And so basically when you have that common passion and you talk to someone and you're like, look, you know what I do. I'm a toy guy. I do comics and toys and everything. I know what you do. We kind of all help each other. And some of the relationships I have now have gone back, almost 30 years. Actually, one of them is like 35 years I've known someone who's been in the toy industry. Yeah, it's great.
You're younger than you look. You're much younger than you look. Or you're much older than you look. Sorry, man.
I might be. It might be a little bit of both.
All right. So now you start Hollywood Heroes, right? And Hollywood Heroes is your store, by the way. So folks who want to check out some Jordan stuff, go to the website, right? It's HollywoodHeroes.com. I should have had the URL. Sorry, I wasn't prepared.
No, HollywoodHeroes.com is the URL, the website. We've got probably about, literally, I'm going to be honest, we probably got about 1/10 or maybe a 20th of everything we own on the site. You got to really come in because everything changes all the time. And we post updates on social media as well, so everybody can follow me on social media as well.
But now as a toy hunter, right? If I went to you and I said, hey Jordan, there was this toy, and if you don't have it, can you find it? People ask me all the time, and I do it. And it's a lot of networking. It's a lot of calling people who we know, in this industry, a lot of our friends. I mean, it's just like you. If you're looking for a comic, you might call a buddy. You might know people that worked on the comic. You probably do. I probably have easier time connecting you with the people who created it than probably finding you the book. But I know exactly what you're saying. So listen.
You call buddies.
Yeah. So listen. So now, Hollywood Heroes. This leads into what I think most people really know you best from, which is the Toy Hunter show, right? So tell us a little about that. Tell us how that came to be. I do want to preface this. Wait, hang on. I want to preface this.
All right.
You were a child actor?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I did child acting too.
All right.
In another world.
It was another life. All right, so Toy Hunter.
Life, I was a child actor. So basically, Toy Hunter was done, and I get this email from a buddy of mine who I went to high school with, and he's like, "Are you still doing toys?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I think you should talk to this casting agent." So I get in touch with this casting agent, and she calls me. She goes, "Well, this company is casting a new show, and essentially it's like Pawn Stars or American Pickers for pop culture." And I'm like, "Oh, all right, that's pretty cool." And she goes, "I think you should go talk to them." So I go to meet these people. They're in New York, and I'll give them a shout out because they're good to me. It was Sharp Entertainment, and they're good guys, and they were doing shows like Man vs. Food at the time. We were all on Travel Channel, and I went in basically and said, "Look, we pitched this concept, and the network is interested, but we pitched it before they actually had a host. So they're like, we've been looking for people. It's crazy. We can't find anyone who actually does this." And they had two criteria, and the two criteria were this. This is what made it so hard for them. One is you have to do this full time. They're like, you can't be like working for like UPS and doing this on the side. Or you can't be like, oh, I'm an accountant and I do this on the side and make so much money. You've got to do this all the time. This is how you make your livelihood. I'm like, okay, that's me. And they like, and second, you've got to be able to string two sentences together and like have like a decent, grasp of the vocabulary.
How long did it take you to get that? Did you work on that part? How long did it take you?
I went in. So here's the thing. I went in on a Tuesday, and I signed my contract on a Thursday. Nice. That's how quick. I got it quick. I was very, very, very lucky. But what's that saying? Luck is when you meet a need and you're ready and everything like that. I forget what it is, but
I don't believe.
I was luck. Ready, and I said,
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
You could to each their own.
Karma.
Yeah.
It could be karma.
Fortune.
Could be toy karma. I was very, very lucky. We started filming right away. We did 3 incredible seasons around the world. Mm-hmm. We were greenlit for a 4th season, and the network decided that they wanted to basically change their mandate and change who they wanted to be again. They're like, well, we're all about hotels and traveling, and we don't really do toys, even though we were the second highest rated show on the network. It was crazy. They kind of didn't know what to do with us. So we ended the US run, but then we went over to Europe, and we started doing Europe, and it was over syndicated, and it took off. I think that show was I think it was more of a hit in the UK and overall the other countries than it was even here, because I'm still doing tours and everything like that. I got an email the other day from Russia, St. Petersburg. The guy's like, "Can you come to the St. Petersburg Comic Con?" I'm like, I didn't even know they had a Comic Con. Sure, St. Petersburg Comic Con. Right. I'm in.
Right. So now Toy Hunter. So it ran like 3 seasons, right? You got that right?
It did.
That right?
3 seasons. Now in season 3, episode 2, you attend your first ever Stanley Kamikaze Expo.
Yes.
And you go there, like all of us, right? Anytime we know Stanley is somewhere, right, for the first time, all you want to do is meet Stan Lee. So talk a little about that.
So these two guys we had some of this artwork. You can actually see some behind me over here. It's artwork by Toy Biz for some of the Toy Biz action figures. And these guys are like buying a lot of it. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, I've got more. And the guy's like, I want all you have. I'm like, okay. He goes, I'm working for my boss. My boss collects all the artwork. I'm like, okay. I said, I'm feeling cocky. I'm like, really? I'm like, can your boss afford all of this? Like, I don't. And he's like, yeah. He's like, don't worry, got you covered. I'm like, okay. So we're buying all this and everything. And it was the last day of the show. And Stan comes walking out from this corner. He's like, this is great. I love this. He's like, thank you. And he's talking to 2 guys. And, I meet him. Great guy. I mean, Stan gives me his card. He's like, call me if you have more stuff. And Stan is everything in real life that you want him to be.
Yeah.
I mean, how they always say, don't meet your heroes? Anyone who said don't meet your heroes never met Stanley.
It's a great
because
way of putting it.
This guy, it's incredible, because this man couldn't be in the center of a crowded building or a crowded room talking to you, and he'll make you feel like you're the only person in the world. And that was Stan. And this man was incredible. And that was one of the greatest gifts I ever got from Toy Hunter is these relationships. I've met Stan. I met Stan for a few episodes we did with him, but I met him personally a couple times as well. And he was incredible. He was truly one of a kind. And this as well. The whole Marvel family, we all loved him. Everyone loves Stan. He's fantastic. He was an incredible man. And I was like this. I was shaking. I'm like, that really happened? That really happened. He was wonderful. He's everything you would hope he would be, and more.
Yeah, I mean, look, we could talk about Stan forever. I mean, I had the pleasure of knowing Stan for a long time, and I got to visit him, shortly before his passing. But the last time that Stan and I were on stage, just to show you the kind of guy he is, I did this thing. It was a Q&A with him at the Paley Center. And we were doing it for the Hero Initiative. So weeks before the Paley Center, that Stan had been canceling shows that he was supposed to go to, and the word was, oh my God, Stan is passing. And he really wasn't doing it. He had a really, really bad flu that ended up being pneumonia. So we were pretty sure we were going to have to cancel that appearance at the Paley Center. But what are you going to do, right? I mean, Stan's not feeling well. And then we got word, like pretty a few days pretty close to the event, Stan's in, he's coming. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And I saw him in the green room, and he wasn't as energetic, clearly, as he usually is. And then when we got on stage, it was like, boom, magic, man. He was just like, he was on, right? And he knew that there was an audience out there that was expecting him to be Stanley, right? To answer those questions with the humor and the honesty that he did, and he was fantastic. And it was then after the event, I was talking to Stan's handler, and he said, "Hey, just between you and me, he had a collapsed lung. not just pneumonia, collapsed lung, but he wanted to be here so badly for you, for the audience. I was just floored. I was just floored. I mean, at his age, and you know, he was just an amazing human being. And I can't think of a moment where I was in his company where he did not live up to and exceed every expectation I ever had of what someone who wrote those stories, someone who wrote those soapboxes was supposed to be. He's just truly I felt really, I think we were all, any of us who got to meet him, any of us who got to see him, hear him, should consider ourselves very fortunate and very blessed that we lived in a time in which he lived as well, you know. Not to get
you know, it's funny, people no, it's okay. He touched everyone. A lot of people ask me my favorite Stanley moment, and it's something so simple that nobody would really pay attention to. But I remember one time we were filming at a show, and I went behind these curtains, and it's, you know, where they had all the, you know, celebs or whatever. But we were there, and Stan was in a director's chair. He was taking a break. He was eating a chicken salad sandwich, or he always loved that. But we were talking. We were talking, and he did something so simple that nobody would even pay attention to, but to me it meant a lot. He leaned over and he talked to me, and he used to put his hand on my arm and he would lean in and talk. And just that little touch meant the world to me, because he cared, and you want that personal touch, and that's the way he was. Yeah. So, and you're right, he was on. He'd be tired and he'd come on stage and be like that. Yeah. And the only other person I've ever seen like that, and you might have known him, is, I was very fortunate. I knew Robin Williams. And
no, I never got to meet him.
Robin was like that. Robin was very introspective, but the minute he was on, he was like, boom, hey, how's it going? Because that's what you wanted of him, and it's incredible.
Yeah. It was the same thing with me. Like Stan, the first time I met him, like he put his hand on my shoulder and he was like, "How you doing, Joey? Right? How you doing?" Now, there's a difference between asking how you doing and asking how you doing and really listening to how you're doing, right? And he would sit, and that was the difference. It wasn't just the arm. It was the personal connection, the question, and then listening to what you had to say, and then that conversation that was incited after that. That's the big difference.
And he remembered too. Yeah, and he would remember too.
Yeah, there were times where he, like, sometimes he'd forget my name. That was a common thing with Stan. It's like, Joe Quesada, right? But you know, he had a lot of names to remember. And like I said, I love that man, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for me to talk about him at length, just because
I know.
You know. But listen, this brings up a really good point, which is stories. You know, and you know, I often talk about, and I know you'll relate to this, when I talk about comics and the fact that there is, you know, the difference between, because we're on digital, we're in paper, you know, we have the collected editions, but there is something about the paper comic, right, that makes it intrinsically different from digital. Not just the fact that it's a tangible, you know, thing, but the fact that there is a collectability aspect. And when I say that, right, sometimes people bristle because, that's what got us in trouble in the first place, the collector's move. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the monetary value of the comic. I'm talking about that each of us who collect comics in some way or form, there are people that are collecting them and they believe they'll put their kids through college. Good luck. But there's those who also collect them because the comic means something to them emotionally, a time, a place, a feeling, a place it brought them to, right? I don't have a comic collection. I have, that I know of, old comics. I have 3, and it's the first 3 comics that my father bought me, right? My first 3 Spider-Man books. They're torn to bits. They've been read a million times over. I've got them in a safe place. And they're my collection because of what they mean to me personally, and that's my story, right? It's in those books.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of Toy Hunter, and also of what it is that you do, right? It's that you went from, you know, the monetary part of it to the meaning of it. Can you talk a little about that? I mean, what you found, what you discovered during the making of Toy Hunter?
I mean, you basically you encapsulated it so beautifully, because it's exactly what Toy Hunter was about. It really wasn't about the monetary aspect. The network made it that, because at the time that was the formula that was working.
Sure.
You had a formula of buying and selling, and I wanted to basically tell the story. I say this all the time. I've said it to you. I've said it to CB when we've been together. I've said it to Wacker when all of us have been together.
Yeah.
I said,
by the way,
toys,
for those who aren't, that's CB Cebulski, our editor in chief,
yes.
And Steve Wacker, some guy who just comes in off the street and sits in a Marvel office. We don't know
Right.
why. We can't get rid of him.
when he
But go
shows
ahead.
up.
Yeah.
So toys are the great equalizer. We all had a childhood, and basically, you could be a Hollywood actor sitting in Beverly Hills. You can be the everyman working a street corner and working hard. You can be a doctor in a hospital fighting this horrible pandemic. But we all had a childhood, and you get these people together in a room and we start talking about the toys that we had. Everybody comes alive. Everyone says, "Oh my God, I had that. I used to go to my grandmother's. I had my brother. Hey, my brother and my sister would fight over my toys." And before you know it, you have all these people of all these religions, color, creeds, everything. They're all together because they all had this childhood. And that's what's beautiful about toys and what we all do and our stories we're telling each other. Because look, the toys and the memories, they don't know boundaries. They don't know race. They don't know religion.
Right.
They don't know sexual orientation. They don't care. Our childhood, we all had it. We're all humans, and we all share that collective memory.
Yeah.
And you can sit around and talk about toys and buying and selling this, and I'm buying this and I'm buying that, and I could be in an office buying something and I'm buying it at this and I got to sell it at this, but that's fine. Those are commodities, and that's a commodity. The new stuff we have is a commodity. I'm talking about our childhood toys. That's something different, because you can't really buy and sell that. You've got this emotional feeling, and it's the stories that go with it that I love so much.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something really quick, and I'll make it really quick. It's going to be a little bit of a tearjerker, but you get it.
Go ahead.
A woman came into me, and she was buying toys. And she was buying these toys, and she's like, "I need this, 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 and this," and they were toys. And I said, "Okay," and I would find them for her, and she came back 6 months later, and she'd buy some more and everything. And I'm abbreviating it for you a little bit. And she's like, "I need this, and I need this, and I need this variation of this toy." I'm like, "Okay." So I would talk to her, and she came in last year, and I said, "Look, you're a middle-aged woman." I said, "You're buying these predominantly male toys." I said, "You don't normally fit the demographic of who I sell to." I said, "But I'm just asking you, are they yours? Are you buying for your husband or whatever?" And she took a breath, and she's like, "Oh," she goes, I'm sorry." And she started welling up with tears. And she said, "Listen, they're for my son." And I says, "Oh, I want to meet him." And she says, "Well, he was in the military." She says, "Unfortunately, he was killed in action." And the list I'm reading is, and she had this list. It was like this. It was a crinkled list, very, very worn, very loved. She says, I'm completing his collection.
Oh my
And
God.
she was looking through her phone. She went looking through her phone like this. She's like, "Hang on." She's going through her phone, and she showed me these photos, and she goes, "This is his room." And his room has all these action figures up that she purchased.
Oh.
And then the next, you look at the next photo, and it's the American flag in a triangle.
Yeah.
And it's on his, and I get verklempt talking about it. But she says, "I love him. He's my baby, even though he's not here. And when I want to be close to him or I miss him, I buy toys and I sit in his room and I talk to him." And that's an incredibly moving story. And that's really what I want to hear. I'm a better person for knowing it. And I tell that story all the time because I want people to know that, like, there's a reason why people do this. It's not just this is cool or something like that. It's very deep and it's very emotional. Some people have a very emotional connection to this stuff, and there are thousands of these stories, millions of these stories all over the world, and that's really what I love to hear and share with everyone.
That's unreal. That's an amazing story. But again, sorry, getting to that point about stories, right? You and I first met through our mutual friend Brian Crosby, who also works at Mar. Everybody loves Brian. And by the way, just a little plug for Brian. Brian does a segment on YouTube, Marvel's YouTube channel. I think it's called Marvel Draw. So it's a great little introductory on how to draw Marvel characters. If you want to learn how to draw them, if you're a young kid just looking for a way to learn how to doodle and figure out Marvel characters, go check it out. It's a really great segment, and he's doing some great stuff. But we met through Brian, and I remember during that first meeting, you stuck in a question like, what toy, do I remember as a child, what was my favorite, and then I got into this story. You may not remember the whole story, but I'll actually put up the graphic here. So when at Christmas time, my family went through ups and downs, and so some Christmases, as a kid, there was maybe one toy that was really, really important, and I remember I was in love with this character called Major Matt Mason, which it predated the moon landing, but it was a toy that was really sort of feeding on that space race mania kind of thing, and there was the little action figure and his compatriots, Captain Storm or Sergeant Storm, and I have the other characters' names somewhere else, but but anyway, I remember there was that, and they had this really cool glider that looked like the space shuttle that you could throw in the end and would glide like crazy, and my parents really didn't have the money to get me both the Captain Major Matt Mason toy and the glider. So they got me the glider, right? They figured, well, it's big and it's cool. And I took it out of the package, and the thing would I'd throw it, I'd go, throw it, and it's down. And I couldn't figure out what was going on until, many, many, many months later, I was able to afford, the Major himself. And when you put him in the glider, it balances the whole thing out, and the thing sails like crazy, right? So I remember telling you the story, and just how much affection I had for those toys, and I asked, do you remember those? And yeah. And then several months later, I was having my big annual Christmas party, and I invited you to come down. We hit it off at that thing, and at that lunch or was it lunch? No, it was dinner with Brian. And
we had like two dinners, so it was great. Yeah.
And you came over, and you handed me a wrapped gift. You said, "This is for you," and I unwrapped it. And
I remember you going. You said, "Do I need to open it now? Can I open it later?" I'm like, "No, open it now."
Open it now, right? So hang on. So here it is. This is what you got me. You got me, the Major Matt Mason, Mattel's Man in Space Mission. This is amazing, right? So, and this was a set my parents couldn't afford because it had 4 figures on it, right? So, I had it had the Major. It had the alien Callisto, Sergeant Storm, and Doug Davis. So thanks to you, and look, I still have. Oh, let me focus up here. Focus up. Come on. There we go. I still have him wrapped in plastic. Everything's wrapped in plastic. I'm not quite sure. I want to take it out in the worst way, but I'm like hesitant. So I have the box up on my shelf, and I just wanted to thank you for that, because you tapped into my story, you tapped into my memory, and seeing that was just fantastic, man. So I really wanted to thank you.
It's a pleasure. You and I talked about it. That's you had that as a kid. It brings back that memory.
Yeah, and so now the in Toy Hunter, right? So the Stanley story, the Stanley episode, clearly was one of the standouts. What was one of your absolute favorite stories or favorite episodes from Toy Hunter?
Stan, of course, Stan.
Right, yeah.
If it wasn't Stan, it was Gene Simmons from Kiss. I went and I was looking for stuff for Gene, and I just, Gene is one of those guys who was sort of like Stan. Mm-hmm. I'll make the comparison. He's larger than life.
Yes.
And he, there's Gene, and then there's Gene, on stage, and that old saying of, oh, your reputation precedes you. Well, his reputation precedes everything. So right. I really enjoyed working with Gene, and when the cameras were down, just like talking to him and listening about life and just what he thinks and business and everything like that. And Gene was an interesting guy because he his mind is always running, and even when we were filming, he was always behind the scenes going, what if I do this, what if I do that, what if I do that? And it was great. He carries around a little black notebook in his breast pocket of his blazer, and he'll always like make notes. He's always
Wow.
run. I go to space. I start my football team. Here's another one where like I go tap dancing. I'm like, oh my, all right. So it was like, I really enjoyed talking to him.
Yeah.
That was a fun episode. It was great. I mean, they were over in Europe, over in England. It was great too because you've got the different culture and we went to Puerto Rico, we went to England. We were scheduled to go to Japan and we were scheduled to go to Australia, all these other countries, and just it got cut short, unfortunately. But it was all wonderful. I'm incredibly honored and humbled by everything, and I'm meeting people that I never ever thought that I'd meet. It was just It's great.
Sure. Now in 2018, you created a show for Lucasfilm, right?
I worked on a show for Lucasfilm. I created it with their team. We all worked together, and I got to give him credit. An incredible guy, Mickey Capaferri, who's over there with Lucasfilm Digital. Great guy. And we wanted to take these incredible stories that we talked about. We were all toy guys and everything. And I said, there are these incredible stories that deal with Star Wars as well. So we did the show, they're still being done, called Our Star Wars Stories, where I go around the country talking to people about how Star Wars has affected their life in a positive, emotional way.
Yeah. So now, so that premiered what in March? Was it 2020?
Yeah, we did. So basically, we did the first season about a year and a half ago, 2018, and then in March we did season 2. We got 3 episodes in, and then COVID hit. Yeah. So we're meeting. We've actually got a meeting tomorrow to all recap and figure out how we want to do this, and figure out, because it's a new world. Yeah. So we all want to come back. We want to do more, whatever iteration it takes. It'll happen. But it's once again, it's those stories. It's that human connection. And as I get further along in my career, and as I get further along, as I get older, the monetary value of stuff is taking a back seat.
Sure. Yeah.
We might all be arguing, but we have a lot more in common than you realize. And these positive stories, whether they be Marvel stories or Star Wars or toy stories, this is all stuff that I want to talk to people about.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. I think we're at a time and place right now where there's enough out there. There's enough out there to tear us, in different directions, right? Not just in half, in quarters, in eighths. And I think the important thing right now is rediscovering what we all have in common, right? The common experiences or the experiences that we can all empathize, because there is something that we all have in common with those experiences. What is it about you? What is it about me? What is it about all you guys out there that we all have in common, right? The desire to want to be happy, to want to be safe. If you have a family, to raise your family in that same manner, right? Those are the things that no matter where you come from, where you are, what part of the globe you live in, we all have that in common, right? And if we could tap into those things, I think that then we realize, despite all the other things that we have different, it's that common thread that really, really, really makes us all happy. I think at the end of the day, right? Even, you sit across from somebody for coffee, for lunch, somebody you don't know at all, someone from a whole other part of the world or a whole other part of the life spectrum that you're from. And in that conversation, it's those things that you have in common that bring you together and make you go, I kind of dig this person. I didn't think I would, or I didn't know if I would, but I kind of dig this person. And so I think more of that is really, and I think you're absolutely on to that with that. So Jordan, you know what? Speaking of commonality, let's bring on a few fan questions, because we got a couple of folks that chimed in. I got a couple that came in earlier. So hang on. I'm going to focus on you here, and let's see what we got. We got question number 1 for you. Comes from Max Byrne. Oh, well, here we go. What Marvel action figure goes for the most money from the 80s? From the 80s. Very specific.
Okay. So the 80s an interesting time for Marvel. Basically, you didn't really have any more Migos. They were out. Secret Wars from Mattel was coming in. So you want to look for the Secret Wars line, because a lot of people are asking for Black Spider-Man in his black outfit. Yep. A lot of folks are asking for the European version of Secret Wars, like Iceman and Electro. So you want to look for the. So
were those European version? Was it just different packaging, or were the figures different as well?
No, the figures weren't available over here. So there were some figures that were only available in Europe. They've got like dual languages and everything. They're really, really cool looking, and they go for a lot of money, like $600, $700. We sold a bunch at New York Comic Con. They went for big bucks.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. Hope that helps.
And I'm a big Secret Wars fan too.
All right, let's see. Joseph Frank, I got a few for Jordan. How long have you been doing all this? Beginnings? Well, how long have you been doing this?
Since I was 16. Well, professionally since I was 16, but in reality, like even longer, because I wasn't really selling toys in elementary school. I was like trading them for like extra chocolate milk on the school ground, or like the extra like good humor bar that we would get at lunch or whatever. So. Pizza day was really big for me, because I'd bring extra toys. I'd get some extra pizza.
Nice. Cool. So, and then what's your favorite toy and why? That's a good one. I should have had that question for you.
Oh, Joseph Frank, you're killing me. Put me in the spot. My
Joseph
favorite
should
toy.
be doing the show, not me.
Yeah. You know what? And it sounds like a cop out. I don't have one really, because I've been exposed to so much of it, and I've been for so long. I love all of it, because I try to look at every toy and I'm like, this is really cool. I love the packaging of this. This is really neat. I love some of the new toys that are coming out now that are in retro packaging. And I'm like, this is so cool. It was made like yesterday, but it looks like it was made in the 1970s. And it's that nostalgia factor that I love. So I really don't even have a favorite toy right now, because I love them all.
Yeah, that's cool. So I'd say besides Toy Hunter and Star Wars stories, do you have anything else planned? Shows, hosting, toy, non-toy related? And he closes with, "We need you back on TV." Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Game show. I hope to do that at the next D23 Expo. I'm talking to them, and we hope to do that again. We hope to do more with Star Wars. I'm always speaking to the wonderful, wonderful people at Marvel, New Line, New Media. Hopefully there'll be opportunities, with Marvel, with my Marvel family in the future as well. Look, I'm always up for working. I always love to work, and this world is a wonderful world to work in. It's a wonderful medium to work in.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't have a bad day, right? At the end of the day.
I love to work with superheroes.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's see. This one comes from the feed from Jesse Nelson. Bonjour from Tennessee, USA. Jesse, be careful. Tennessee is spiking. How are you doing with what's going on, Jordan? And what's your favorite Marvel toy? A little more specific there.
Yeah. So I'm doing well. Thank you so much. I'm doing well, hunkering down, wearing my mask, just, washing my hands, everything I should do. Marvel toy, favorite Marvel toy. I still got to go back to the 1970s. Those Mego toys that I grew up with, where I was so impressionable, like from that young age, from like 5 to 7 to 8, and those 7-inch, 8-inch Mego dolls are so, they're articulated, and everyone knows them. Everyone remembers them. They're great. I love them. They bring me back to my childhood. So I love the vintage Mego stuff.
Great. All right. So let's see. We got one here from Chubbs. Chubbs says, this is an awesome question. Would you rather get rid of all your toys but be a superhero, or have all your toys and not be a superhero?
Oh, okay. You know what? Let me look. Right now I got Chubbs. I've had a good life. I've had a good run of the toys. I'll give them up right now and become a superhero. I'll do something a little different, maybe help everyone.
There you go.
So
cool. All right.
Or
Chubbs,
maybe I'm a superhero that collects toys.
You don't know, right? It's your secret identity. Look at this, right? Mind blown.
I'm blown.
Wait, Chubbs wasn't done with you. Chubbs isn't done with you. Chubbs has all right. Oh man, he wants you to get rid of all your toys. If you had to get rid of all your toys but one, which one would you keep? I think what Chubbs is trying to figure out is a way for you to give up all your toys so he can just scoop in and take them all.
So he can come in. Chubbs wants them.
All right, one toy. You get one. You get to pick. Wait, hang on a second. What happened here? One toy. I lost my camera. Where am I?
Okay.
Here we go. Hey, I want to do one toy. I wanted to emphasize that, and I missed my cue.
Okay, I would. You know what? This is gonna blow over. I'd keep when I was a kid. My mom and dad still have it. I would keep I have a stuffed rabbit from when I was a kid. I would keep that from when I was like a baby.
Okay.
I pulled all the fur out of it and tried to make a mustache, so I'd pull that off, and that's what I would keep.
Fair enough, man. All right, one more. All
right.
Oh, let's see here. Oh, Spider-Man wrote in. Okay, Spider-Man.
Oh, neat.
All right, I started a Marvel toy collection. Any tips?
Yeah. Okay, so I got one. This is the perfect tip I give everybody. Collect what you love.
Yeah. Don't
worry about, is it going to be worth something? Is the package good? Is it not good? Just collect what you love. Start off with that main foundation of, I really like doing this. Don't worry about everything else. It'll all fall into place. Collect what you love.
Great advice. I mean, it's the same thing I tell people when they say, "Hey, what should I collect, or what comics should I read?" That's a tough one.
What do you like? Yeah.
Yeah. You have to find what you like, and sometimes you just need. I always recommend just go to your local comic shop, right? Find a local comic shop and ask, one of the employees there. Tell them what sort of books you like, what sort of movies you like, and they'll find something. It's not always Marvel, right? They'll find something that I think it's a great way to get started. So you've also done some shows for Marvel New Media, right? You've been on Earth's Mightiest show. You've been on there a couple of times talking about toys, correct?
Yeah, I've done. It's funny because before I was doing this and everything, I talked to friends at Lucasfilm and everything, and a friend of mine at Lucasfilm goes, you always play in both ponds. Like, he goes, you're a Marvel guy and you're a Lucasfilm guy and everything. He's like, you play in both ponds. I'm like, I know.
You can be both.
I've been on Earth.
Why can't you be both?
I can do both. Well, look, in reality, we're all one big happy family anyhow, big umbrella family.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course. So it's like, I've been on Earth's Mightiest show a few times. I loved it. It's great. We are talking about the greatest toys of the decades, the greatest toys of the 70s, the greatest toys of the 80s. And it's a blast. I was on with Langston Bellin, who's an awesome guy. And Langston's always great to hang out with. Yeah. It's wonderful. It's really, really wonderful. I look forward to doing tons more with Marvel, hopefully. And I did Toy Hunter Live for Marvel at New York Comic Con a couple of years ago too. So I was with Ryan as well, who's fantastic.
Yeah. So, well, listen. I mean, but let's talk about doing more. So my understanding is that you've been getting more and more requests about Marvel stuff these days, right? Marvel collectibles and toys. Am I wrong in that, or is that somebody feeding me stuff because I'm the Marvel guy, or?
No. I mean, look, Marvel's on fire right now. I mean, even last year, Marvel had an incredible year. Endgame really shattered all box office, record. I had people coming to me after Endgame, and they're like, I was never a superhero fan. What do you have, Marvel? So, I mean, Marvel's really on a roll right now, and people are, asking me about Marvel toys, and are you buying stuff? And I'm buying new merchandise. I'm selling old stuff as well. Everyone's talking about Marvel stuff right now. So yeah, my toe is firmly in Marvel.
Well, listen, during this whole COVID thing, I'm doing this show, and as fans know out there, I'm doing this as a bit of distraction, something to keep Marvel fans kind of in the loop, and introduce them to some new and maybe some old folk that they don't know, who work for us, who freelance for us, who do other things, but are part of this world of genre. So I don't know what you're doing, but I love talking toys with you, and I know you got stuff behind you and stuff in drawers that you're not even showing right now. So
nobody's looking at me this interview. Everyone's looking behind me. They're all looking at this.
So I'm gonna pitch you right now. So how about, right? I do the show about once a week, sometimes twice a week, but about once a week at this point. How about every once in a while you come on and do a little toy segment, a little 5 or 10 minute toy segment, introduce us to something old, something new. Before I bring in my big guests and stuff like that. I'd love to have you back on, because I know we only sort of scratched the surface of what you have in your shop, and some of the stories you could tell about some of the Marvel collectibles. So you do that? You're interested?
Yeah, I'd come back. I'd love to. Yeah.
I pay top dollar if you expect nothing.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, great. When Whacker doesn't show up, call me. I'll be here.
That's like every episode. Every episode.
Okay, I won't break down the set then. I'll keep it.
I'm not even counting on Steve Whacker. You know what I'm going to do? If he refuses to be on the show next time, I'm just going to have a photo of him. And so it'll just be, what do you think, Steve? And we'll just cut to the photo of Steve. And it'll probably be as useful as having him on. But listen, brother, thank you so much for coming on. Really,
thank you.
Love you. And again, I'll never forget my major Mason. So advice. Tell me. Should I take him out of the plastic, or should I leave him there?
Is it open on the side? I can't see. Is it open on the top? Is it open?
Oh, it is. It is. It shows you like.
Right now, we'll do it. It's a first.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, look at this guy.
Nice and minty.
Love it.
Now smell them. Can you smell the plastic? Does it bring back memories?
It's actually, it smells sweet, actually. It doesn't, not quite like but he's bendy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting old. All right.
I know.
Sorry, folks. When I shut down the camera, I'm playing with
okay.
Thank you again, brother. I really appreciate it. All right. We'll talk soon. And let's come back on. Come back on and let's let's talk a little bit about Marvel toys and show me what you got that you'll think will be interesting for that episode. All right, man?
Yeah. And in the meantime, tell everyone they can follow me on social media at Jordan Hembrough on Twitter, at Jordan Hembrough on Instagram, at Jordan Hembrough on Facebook. We post toys all the time.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.
Okay.
Best of the family.
Thanks, man.
We'll talk soon. Okay.
Take care.
Yep.
All right.
Hey guys, so I hope you enjoyed the interview with Jordan, and I think it'd be fun to have him back, and we can start talking toys. So next issue, I have no idea yet. I don't know. I'm working on someone cool. So stay tuned. I'll let you know. As always, we will be continued. Much love to you guys. Thanks for watching. Again, be safe. Wear your masks. I'm gonna wear mine right now. Here we go. We're gone. Oh, wait, hang on. Here we go. Now my glasses are going to fog up. All right, folks. From me to you, love you. See you in the funny books, and see you next week. Well, I got Jordan back, huh?
We were kings of Brooklyn.